Imagine a Dodge that does not ask for permission to be called a muscle car, because the moment the throttle opens, the argument is over. The Super B name is back for 2027, and this time, Dodge has taken a legendary badge, wrapped it around the modern Charger, and built a machine that delivers 600 horsepower without relying on a V8. This is the 2027 Dodge Charger Super B Launch Edition, a limited production performance car created for drivers who still want their American muscle loud, aggressive, dramatic, and seriously fast. What makes it fascinating is not simply the number on the power sheet. Dodge has changed the cooling, turbochargers, brakes, tires, suspension, aerodynamics, drive modes, steering controls, and visual identity. So this Super B is not just a Charger with a special badge. It is designed to feel like a purpose-built performance weapon, and that becomes obvious the second you see its face. The front end looks wider, lower, and more serious, with a revised fascia built around airflow as much as attitude. The grille uses a textured mesh pattern that gives the nose a technical, almost industrial character, while the openings help feed cool air toward the engine and performance hardware. The redesigned headlights sit tightly against that aggressive shape, creating a sharp expression that feels modern without losing the intimidation that has always defined Dodge. The daytime running lights add another layer of recognition, especially when the car approaches from a distance, because their crisp signature turns the front of the Super B into something immediately identifiable. Look closer, and the details become even more interesting. The grille area carries the updated Fratzog emblem, connecting the modern Charger to Dodge's visual language while making it clear that this is not an ordinary trim. The Super B identity is reinforced through special graphics and the turbo-inspired B treatment, and on the launch edition the exterior themes are intentionally bold. Sucker Punch gives the car a high-impact yellow personality with gloss black accents, while Diamond Black reverses that attitude into a darker, more sinister presentation. And the Shady theme adds another interpretation for buyers who want the graphics without the brightest body color. The hood treatment is especially dramatic, with a gloss black section and stripes that visually pull attention toward the engine's six-pack heritage. From the front three-quarter view, the Super B looks ready to move even while standing still. The long body, broad shoulders, low roofline, and planted stance create the proportions of a modern American grand touring muscle car, but the performance details make the difference. This is a car that has been shaped around speed, and its aerodynamic work is functional rather than decorative. Dodge says the revised front end can contribute more than 100 pounds of additional downforce at 150 miles per hour, giving the car a stronger connection to the road when speeds climb. Along the side, the stance becomes even more convincing because the Super B rides on huge 20 by 11-inch wheels wrapped in 305 section Goodyear Eagle F1 Supercar 3 summer tires. Those wheels fill the arches with very little visual empty space, and they immediately communicate that this Charger was engineered for grip rather than simply for show. The tires are a major part of the performance story because 600 horsepower means very little if the car cannot put that power down. The wide rubber provides a large contact patch for acceleration, cornering, and braking, while the wheel design exposes a serious braking system behind it. The massive Brembo hardware uses 16-inch vented rotors with 6-piston fixed calipers up front and 4-piston fixed calipers at the rear, giving the Super B the stopping power expected from a car that can attack a quarter mile in the low 11-second range. The available visual contrast of the Hyperline brake calipers is another unmistakable detail, especially against darker wheels and body colors. Move toward the side mirrors and the design stays purposeful. The mirrors are shaped to blend with the Charger silhouette while maintaining the clean muscular profile, and the door handles sit neatly within the body instead of interrupting the overall shape. The result is a side profile that looks surprisingly clean until you notice the graphics, wide tires, and low stance. The Super B does not need excessive vents or exaggerated shapes to look fast. Its proportions do most of the work. From the rear, the personality changes slightly. The broad tail gives the car a planted appearance, while the rear lighting creates a recognizable horizontal signature across the body. The tail lights look especially dramatic after sunset, when the red illumination contrasts with the darkened bodywork and makes the Charger instantly recognizable from behind. Below that, the rear treatment continues the performance theme without becoming cartoonish. The exhaust outlets remind you that this is the gas-powered Super B, and when the twin-turbo straight six comes alive, the sound is a different kind of modern muscle soundtrack, built around induction, turbocharged pressure, exhaust character, and rapid changes in engine speed, rather than the traditional rumble of a large displacement V8. That difference is important because this Super B represents a new chapter for the nameplate. Since its original appearance in 1968, Super B has been associated with accessible, aggressive Dodge performance, and previous generations carried V8 power. The 2027 model breaks that tradition while trying to preserve the attitude behind it. Instead of pretending the old formula never changed, Dodge has leaned into the capabilities of a turbocharged inline-six and developed the most powerful Super Bee ever. Open the door, and the cabin immediately separates itself from a normal Charger through a more focused performance atmosphere. The dashboard keeps the modern Charger architecture, but the Super Bee adds special touches that make the interior feel more like a driver's machine. Contrast stitching in silver and sour lemon traces the dashboard, doors, and center console, adding a bright performance accent without covering every surface in unnecessary decoration. The materials are designed to balance durability and sportiness, and the cloth front bucket seats are one of the biggest departures from the more conventional premium approach. These seats use aggressive bolsters to hold the driver and passenger in place during hard cornering, while citrus peel inserts and bee-themed headrest logos reinforce the limited edition identity. Sit behind the wheel, and the squared-off performance steering wheel becomes one of the cabin's most important controls. The shape provides a stronger visual connection to motorsport, while the larger paddle shifters are positioned for faster manual gear selection. There is also a dedicated control for switching from all-wheel drive to rear-wheel drive, giving experienced drivers the ability to change the character of the car with a simple command. That is a major part of the Super Bee experience because all-wheel drive provides traction when launching or driving in changing conditions, while rear-wheel drive mode opens the door to controlled oversteer, donuts, and a more traditional muscle car feel when used responsibly in an appropriate environment. Ahead of the driver, the digital instrument display gives the cabin a modern information center, presenting the essential data you need while the car is working hard. Speed, engine information, drive settings, and performance information can be monitored without taking attention away from the road. The infotainment display adds the technology expected in a contemporary Charger, while the center console keeps the main controls within easy reach. The gear selector manages the 8-speed Torque Flight 880RE automatic transmission, and the overall layout is built around quick access rather than complicated decoration. The cabin is also more interesting at night. Ambient illumination and the contrast stitching create a subtle glow around the darker surfaces, while the screens remain the primary visual focus. In low light, the Super Bee feels less like a conventional sedan and more like a cockpit designed for late-night highway runs or a track session. The door panels continue the same theme, combining practical surfaces with performance-focused trim and carefully placed stitching. Every time the driver looks down, the car provides another small reminder that this is a special version. The Super Bee badge on the dashboard is one of those details, and the bee-themed seat logos make the identity impossible to confuse with a standard Charger. Under the hood is where the real story begins. The 2027 Super Bee uses Dodge's 3.0-liter twin-turbo 6-pack high-output straight-six, but this is not simply the standard engine with a new computer setting. Dodge has fitted larger 56mm Garrett turbochargers, revised the engine calibration, increased cooling capacity, and tuned the powertrain to produce a SAE-certified 600 horsepower and 531 pound-feet of torque. That works out to 200 horsepower per liter, an extraordinary figure for a street-legal production muscle car. The torque figure is especially useful because peak torque arrives earlier than it does in the lower output version, reaching its maximum at about 3,000 RPM. The larger turbos are designed to push more air and build more than 30 psi of boost, giving the engine a stronger upper range while helping it respond with serious urgency when the throttle is opened. Press the accelerator, and the Super Bee's personality changes instantly. The 8-speed automatic keeps the engine in its useful power range, while the all-wheel drive system searches for traction. Dodge claims a 0 to 60 mile/hour time of 3.6 seconds and an 11.8-second quarter mile, numbers that put this six-cylinder Charger deep into serious performance territory. Those figures are not just about one perfect launch. Dodge says the Super Bee was engineered for repeatable performance, which means cooling and thermal management received as much attention as horsepower. That focus continues through the chassis. The Super Bee adds dual-valve adaptive damping, massive Brembo brakes, wide 305-section summer tires, launch control, torque reserve, and dedicated drag, race and track modes, giving the driver a machine that can attack a straight line and remain composed when the road bends. A rear-wheel drive mode can also be selected from the steering wheel, adding a more playful character when used responsibly in a controlled environment. The available Drive Experience Recorder brings a forward-facing 1080p camera and performance data recording for track sessions. Inside, the special cloth bucket seats, citrus peel accents, Bee logos, silver and sour lemon stitching, digital displays, performance steering wheel, larger paddles, center controls, and illuminated cabin details make the Super Bee feel unmistakably special after dark. The 2027 Launch Edition will be offered in 2-door and 4-door Charger forms with Sucker Punch, Diamond Black, and shady visual themes. Dodge has not yet announced final pricing, but this limited production model is positioned above the regular Scat Pack and is expected around mid-2027. Most importantly, this is not a rumor or a rendering. Dodge has officially revealed the 600 horsepower Super B as its most powerful Super B ever. It may not have the traditional V8, but the twin-turbo 3.0-liter six-pack straight six delivers 600 horsepower and 531 pound-feet of torque, proving that modern American muscle can evolve without surrendering its attitude. From its aggressive face to its explosive acceleration, every detail has a purpose. This is Prime Car Culture. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next new machine.